Hey, Halloween video still ain't done.
I don't want to set the world on fire.
Should you take my opinions with a grain of salt? Hell yeah, you should. I didn't spend the last year catching up on all the modern classics. I spent it all on indie games and random PS1 games that neither me nor most of my friends knew existed a year ago. Like, let's be real, how many of you even knew what Growlancer was before I streamed it? I sure as fuck didn't know until I saw it sitting in a game store, like 3 years ago now. I only bring this up because I played literally none of these games. In addition to that, I'm going to be going over a good few games here, so don't expect a particularly deep review on any one of them. This is going to be a pretty quick-fire round of recommendations. This was a year where I realized that my brain is good at more than just breaking RPGs in half. I found my true calling, and I can't even really name the genre that these games belong to. They're games about building up to an absurd scale, games that are all about management and hitting the point where you're deepening your pockets ad infinitum for no real reason. There's a capitalism joke in there somewhere. I'm sure there's a name for what all these games are, but me being the peanut brain weirdo I am, I just call them number go up games. There's something kind of funny tying all these games together, and it's that I didn't really enjoy them the first time I tried playing them. Yet, here they are at the end. With all that said, I heartily recommend Star Sector, RimWorld, and Factorio. They're all games about pulling yourself up and out of a real terrible situation until you're the top dog of a region, a planet, or even, well, a star sector. But going back to those 3 games, you kind of took over the world, or whatever, in the same way. Or at least I did, that being the complete domination of resources. Whether that be to so thoroughly take over the galactic economy that entire empires are trying to blow you out of the market, or, you know, taking your car out to some locals who just happen to be living near some whale and politely asking them to leave. I also found a lot of love for roguelikes during this year, going for games like Synthetic and Star Renegades. I guess as I end up getting busier, there's something comfortable about a game that I can pick up and end within the span of an hour tops. Synthetic is a game that makes my blood pressure shoot up because of what it throws at me sometimes, but I feel this catharsis from actually having a good run that I haven't felt since my first playthrough of Hotline Miami. But then you get the Star Renegades, which comparatively isn't anywhere near as mechanically complex, but in terms of aesthetics, it completely knocks it out of the park. The look of this game dazzled the hell out of me, and while I don't find myself constantly coming back to it like Synthetic or Hotline Miami or Factorio, RimWorld, whatever, the aesthetics of it have never left my mind. It is a legitimately gorgeous and fantastic looking game, and that alone, it deserves some kind of recognition. Hey, yeah, this is totally a post-production cut-in. I'm not sure if my audio quality is better or worse, but I wanted to say, while the bit that's about to come up isn't entirely true anymore, it felt a bit wrong to cut it out of the video because it was coming from a semi-emotional place. Strive changed a lot and got me talking to a lot of people I lost touch with. Can you tell this video's been stuck in production hell for months yet? Melty 2 and the Sugihime remake were still jokes when I wrote this script. Though, sadly, despite all the fanaticism that sunk its teeth into me over the course of 2020, I've lost some stuff along the way. I really fell off with fighting games. I don't really actively play them anymore, probably because quarantine cost me my local scene. It really makes you think that you don't really appreciate something until it's gone, and I didn't realize how much those people meant to me until I couldn't see them anymore and dick around for 3 hours playing Guilty Gear. But hey, at least I still got Melty Blood. It's got rollback. It's pretty good. I still don't know what the hell Sugihime is, and I'm probably never going to read it. But battle nuns are cool. I'm going to watch her beat the shit out of the moon vampire princess. But it's time for the meat. And I'm sure you've all been wondering what my game of the year for 2020 is. Honestly, it should surprise everyone. big shock, it's Etrian Odyssey 3. It's no secret that I'm a pretty massive fan of this series, and after how much time I've put into this series across the board, I can pretty confidently say that 3 is my favorite. The first game is an excellent start, but it definitely is pretty rough around the edges. As for my thoughts on the second game, that wanders towards this little comic at the end of the Force of Eternity art book, where Etrian Odyssey 2 is referred to as Etrian 1.5, and after taking a crack at it, I kinda agree. My thoughts on 3 are also summarized pretty well by that same comic: multiplayer, subclasses, sea charts. But since I've already talked at length about this series before, I'll talk about what this one does different and why that pulled me in so much. Subclassing alone adds this ridiculous level of depth to the game, not unlike prestige classes in D&D 3.5. You haven't lived until you've subclassed your backline wizard into a goddamn gladiator. If you think that's stupid, play the game and you will sure as hell agree with me before long. But game mechanics aren't what made me so attached to this game, it's actually the story, something that up until I actually got through 3 I thought was an afterthought in these games. What starts as an adventure not too unlike all the others, you know, hunting legends, climbing or descending into something, and some stupid thing going on like the apocalypse or whatever. This game pulled a really fun story of familial drama and duty out of nowhere, and it enthralled me the whole way through. I thought it was fantastic. And as much as that summary sounds a bit cliche, I'm also cutting out a lot. It turns into a sci-fi plot at the very end, and it's fucking wild. I love it. But as I like to do in these videos, I do have a Game of the Year that actually came out in 2020. Touhou Spellbubble. Honestly, that might be the best take. But now we're playing catch-up, because 2019 was a unique year because both the games I loved the most from that year actually came out in that year. Which, I mean, this is only the second video of this type that I've made, but just for a reference, that has basically never happened to me before. Touhou Luna Nights is a game that is very different to me than when I initially picked it up. I remember knowing nothing about Touhou as a franchise when I first bought it, and even then it was just this single-level early access deal on Steam, and I could see how much potential this game had. And the full game released, and at the time I still knew basically nothing about the franchise it's a spin-off of. I guess you could say that put me in a bit of a unique place when it came to this game, because all the fan service was lost on me, and I still managed to see it as one of the single most impressive Metroidvanias I've ever put my time into. Though calling it a Metroidvania is a bit cheating, I feel. This is about as much a Castlevania fan game as you can get without getting sued. Well, actually that goes more to Deedlit in Wonderland, but that's a whole other can of worms that we're not dealing with today. The movement of the game feels amazing, and its emphasis on precision that it's inherited from its parent series results in this incredibly tight-feeling platformer where the last-second dodges feel like these pixel-perfect movements no matter how wide the gap really was. In addition to that, the bullet hell-inspired bosses make for these amazing visual spectacles that you're fighting and moving your way through. The amazing art direction complements just about every part of this game. It's sporting some of the most impressive-looking pixel art I've seen outside of games like Aria of Sorrow or Iconoclasts. Not to mention all the fantastically done covers of existing Touhou character and stage themes to complement the gorgeous art style and hectic energy that this game just radiates. The renditions of beloved Tomboyish Daughter and Love-Colored Master Spark are some of my personal favorites. Even if you know nothing about Touhou, you can still absolutely enjoy this game as a wildly polished masterpiece. I should also mention that, knowing full well that this will perk the ears of some people in my viewer base, that this was the same team that made that fantastic little Shin Megami Tensei Metroidvania called the Synchronicity Prologue. You might remember that from, I think, 4 or 5 years ago? Give Team Ladybug the attention they deserve. They're probably some of the best independent developers I've seen in a very, very long time. Did you guys know that I'm really into Ace Combat? Originally, I wanted to say that Ace Combat 7 was a fantastic return to form for the series, but what it lacks in story complexity makes up for with a really fucking good video game. After the lack of any real successor to just show up the PS2 trilogy, 7 tried its damnedest, and while it didn't nail it, it still pretty good. The customization aspect of this game really gives you a lot of freedom in tweaking planes to really get weird with your playstyle to see what you can create. And while the game's multiplayer is lacking, you do have even more customization options to play with inside it. As much of a disappointment, I guess it was, it's still a lot better than anything else I touched, and the fact that it tried so hard and wore its heart on its sleeve, it deserves some. Not to mention that the DLC is this amazing self-contained story about an AWOL submarine captain from Ace Combat 4 coming to the fucking universe brain decision of, I'm going to use a Davy Crockett to blow up a parade to make everyone so sad about war that I cause world peace. That's brilliant. I love it. Hello and welcome to the third time I've recorded the ending of this video, because the first time it was terrible, the second time it was off script, and the third time it was a little bit of a depressive mess, because when I first recorded all this audio I was a bit of a depressive mess. Better now, kind of, hopefully, maybe. Halloween videos, just, I give up, I can't do it, sorry. Winter stream's coming back, when I feel like it. I kinda dig the Void stream format, it's given me a lot of freedom, but I want to make, like, real stuff again soon. When are new videos? I'm hopefully graduating next spring, and from there I have to figure my life out, which no guarantees of that happening within the next 15 years, so we'll see what happens when it happens. I'm feeling pretty good overall, honestly. Yeah, I just can't promise anything really coming. Maybe it won't be a year until the next thing, but I can't really say either way. See you when I see you guys. Have a nice one.